but I will be heading out in a little bit, and I think that it is going to be a nice day. Semi warm and building up to the 70s for later this week. So I am super excited about the warm weather. But before we get into the week and start to enjoy this beautiful weather that we have coming our way, I always like to come in on Make Your Move Monday and just share some information and education and some things to make you go, hmm. So today we are going to talk about, are you actually ready to buy? Or are you just scrolling? So I always get this question, and it's interesting because I get people that really aren't ready to buy and they think they are. And I get people that are ready to buy and able to buy, but they think they aren't. So we're going to just talk about some different things for you to know if you're actually ready. So let's just start out. Are you are you someone who you're just like really you're looking at homes, but you're more so fantasy shopping because you haven't found out what you need to do, you haven't saved any money, you don't know your credit score, but you know the prices of all the homes in the area, and you've got this list saved, probably 50 houses saved of the things that you want. Or have you done some of this research, but maybe you've heard some myths and things, and you think you're still not ready, but you do have you do know your credit score, you do have some savings, you have been employed for a while. So today we're going to try to talk through whether or not you are emotionally ready, financially ready, and mentally ready, because it is a process, and it is usually one of the excuse me, biggest purchases that most of us will make in our lives. So let's talk about emotional readiness. So buying a house, it's not just the numbers and the financial readiness. It's really emotionally, are you ready? Are you ready to stay somewhere for probably at least 3 to 5 years? Are you ready to handle home maintenance? And that doesn't mean that you have to be the one with the screwdriver or the wrench trying to get things fixed, but are you ready to handle that home maintenance? Whatever that's you fixing something, you having the resources to have someone else come in and fix something. Um, are you ready for that? Are you buying just because you're tired of renting, or are you really prepared to buy? So ownership can be freedom, but it is also responsibility. So a lot of times you hear when you're renting, excuse me, you don't have any control over what you can do with your home. Things that you can do. You don't have the flexibility to know what your mortgage is going to be for the most part. So, but are you just looking for freedom from those things, or are you really ready for the responsibilities? Because once you buy that home, you can't call the landlord and say, "Hey, my toilet stopped up." Um, you have, there's property taxes involved, there's insurance involved, and there's lots of different things that you need to take into consideration. And it's responsibility, but it's not impossible. And when you're renting, you are paying someone's mortgage. So you do want to think about that emotional responsibility and how you're going to handle things and what you're ready for, because it may not be your time. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm not sure what is in my throat, but let me get some water. All right, financial readiness. And this is, huge, because this is a deal breaker, can be a deal breaker for a lot of people. And there's really four different parts to that: your credit, your savings, your income, steady job, and maybe just three parts. So the financial readiness. So credit, you need to know what your credit score is. You need to know, and it doesn't have to be an 800. You need a credit score that's solid. The higher the better, obviously, but it doesn't have to be 800. So don't think that you have to have a perfect credit score or have a credit score in the 800s to buy a house. But you do need to understand your credit. You need to understand your credit card debt, your car debt, any other type of debt, student loans and things like that. You need to make sure that you're understanding and paying down as much debt as possible before you get ready to buy a home. So, and that's something that you will talk to your lender about. They will pull your credit report, and then they will look at everything. They will go through what you have, maybe suggest that you pay off some things, or maybe maybe suggest that you might need to actually build credit. So there's different situations for everyone, but you need to make sure that you're talking to a responsible professional who will guide you in the right direction. So, and that can be, you might have some little dings on your credit, but you can go from getting those done, getting those, having those issues on your credit, to being ready to purchase in 90 days. It can be as quick as that. It could be shorter. Just depends on your specific situation. This next one, savings is huge. I tell people, I always say I started back in 1997. And back in the day, I could say, if you have $1,000 in the bank, I can get you in a house. Nowadays, I absolutely cannot say that. I can't give you a minimum number, but I can tell you that you need to have as saved as much as possible. And I say that because now we have due diligence, we have earnest money, you have other expenses, and housing in general is just more expensive. Living is more expensive these days. So you want to make sure that you have as much money saved as possible. Even if you're going to be doing 100% financing, or if you're getting some down payment assistance, you still need to have a decent amount of money in the bank to be prepared for your transaction. You may have to pay your own closing costs. In addition, you may have a down payment. You have inspections. You have moving expenses. Um, and you want to make sure that you are not going to be moving into that house and house poor. You want to make sure that you have an emergency fund set aside specifically for the house. I know when I bought my first house, I back in '95, I think it was. I Within 2 weeks after moving into my home, my water heater went out. Fortunately, the seller had provided a home warranty, so I was able to take advantage of that home warranty and get the water heater replaced. But if she had not, and if I didn't have that home warranty, I would have had to have the money set aside to do that. And we want to make sure that we have money set aside and we're not using credit cards as the way that we deal with our emergencies and things that come up. We want to make them inconveniences and not emergencies. Now, you do not have to have 20% down payment. That's a myth that we hear a lot. So you don't have to have 20% down payment. You don't even have to necessarily have 10% down payment, but you do need to have as much money saved as possible. And I would say maybe a minimum of 10,000 is a good starting point. So I know that it's tax time. So if you're getting a tax refund, look at how you want to use that. Do you want to use it to pay off some debt? Do you want to set aside some money for purchasing a home, or a combination of both? So 3 to 5% down payment is going to be about average that you can do minimum. And then there are, again, some 100% programs where you wouldn't have to have any down payment, but you still need to have money saved for to get into to start the process. Because when you get ready to make an offer, that seller is going to want some due diligence, maybe some earnest money. The lender is going to want you to pay for your appraisal. You're going to have a home inspection and things done. So you want to have some cash in the bank, and cash that you enough that you feel comfortable that you're not spending every dime of it to get into a house. We want you to have some money saved. Excuse me. Income stability. When you go to meet with a lender, they're going to want to see 2 years of full time employment. Ideally, it would be at the same position, but if it's consistent, consecutive, and it's in the same field, then that's going to be sufficient. But it can't be 2 years of just part time. Well, let me not say that. It can be part time if it's enough to make it, but you have to, if you're working a part time job and you want that to be included, you do have to have 2 years of that part time job. So you can't have your full time job and say, oh, I'm getting ready to buy this house. Let me go get this part time job so I can count that income. It doesn't work like that. You're going to need to have that for 2 years. So if you're commission based, my fellow realtors and other people who are entrepreneurs or self employed, that is also 2 years of history that you need. And you need to be strategic with your taxes and how what you write off and what you're showing as income on your taxes. So you want to make sure that you're talking to someone, if you're self employed, about those, and being strategic with that, talk to a tax professional with that. Make sure that you are not making big purchases. I know when I was the president of the local board for the Triangle Board of Realtors, so right before I was president, our past national president had an initiative called House Before the Car, and that is key because it is much easier to buy a car than it is to buy a house. So when you go out and you get that 500, even as much as $1,000 car payment, that can keep you from buying a house. But if you buy a house, you can most likely get that car payment. So you want to make sure that you do the house before the car. And any other big major purchases that you might be considering, wait till you get your home and then you can do those things. So you want to make sure that your income is stable, that you're setting aside money. Um, Consistently for that and have some money set aside. And we all know that things can change, jobs change, and things like that. And that's why you want to be strategic when you are deciding to purchase. You want to keep your ratios, even keep your ratios low, your housing expenses low as possible, so that you don't get in there once again and be house poor, and that you're also able to save money so that if there is a job loss, you can, maintain your house. The lifestyle check. Does the payment fit your life? This is what I was just talking about as far as house poor. Will you still be able to travel, to save money? Can you still go out to eat with friends? You don't want to just be one of those people that you got this big, beautiful house and now you're only able to Netflix and chill. So I know for me, I love to travel and I want to, make sure that I can keep continuing to enjoy my life so that I'm not regretting the house purchase. So make sure that you are thinking about all of those things and having those conversations with your realtor, with your lender before you make a decision. So just because the lender says, hey, you can buy this $500,000 house, you want to make sure that you feel comfortable with the payment. And if you don't, then you can kind of reverse engineer it and tell the lender, well, this is the payment amount that I feel comfortable with. And then we can back into it and see what that qualifies for house wise and see what's available in there that meets your needs. And just on a sidebar with that, which actually goes into the next point of market reality. Just because you're buying a house, whether it's your first home, your move up home, it does not have to be your forever home. There's some flexibility, things change, and you want to make sure that you're getting something that, or your dream home, I should say, because a lot of times we have these amazing dreams. We want the pool and an acre lot, and I don't know, gated community and things like that. But really, we want to look at what we need. And then I tell people I try to help you get all of your needs and as many of your wants as possible. So we'll sit down and we'll talk about it, and we'll, not only just talk about why you want this or what it is that you want, but what is it, what do you need, or how are you going to use it? So maybe you can tell me you want a garage, but you really just want a garage for storage. So maybe we can look at houses that don't have a garage, but have some type of storage space. So, um, you can tell we'll talk about what you want, what you need, and then we'll figure out what's the best way to make sure that we can get as much of that as possible, and maybe some alternatives. So sometimes people will say they need something or they want something, and we find the perfect house that has the perfect footprint, and it might be missing this one aspect that they wanted. But maybe there's an easy way in the house. I had a couple once that they wanted a bathtub. The particular house that they ended up buying didn't have a bathtub in it, but it had a great place that they could switch out and easily put a tub in, and have the shower in the tub there, and it met all of their other needs. So we'll look at, I'll hear what you're saying and what you want and what you need, and then if it doesn't have it, I can give you some suggestions, and you can think about, does this work, does this make sense for me, does everything else work, and can I fix this, either before I move in or later on down the road when I move in. So those are some things that we want to make sure that we take into consideration, because you may not get every single thing in one house, but we'll do our best to make sure that it can fit your needs and that you and your family's needs. Market reality, like I was saying, interest rates, they change. They can change daily. Actually, they probably can change more than one time a day. So, excuse me, you want to make sure like you're pre-approved and at a certain interest rate, and that if you're ready and you've done all of these other things, you've got your income, you've got your savings, and it's a good time for you to buy. Don't necessarily wait for that interest rate, because there are different ways to achieve your goals. There can be a interest rate buy down. There can, different things that you can do. But we always like to say you can date the rate and marry the house. So go ahead and get your house while the market is conducive to you as a buyer. And then if you need to, you can refinance later. I know that FHA has something called a streamline refinance that costs pretty simple to do, cost a lot less. So if you have an FHA loan, that might be an option that you can do if your interest rate, goes, if rates go down a point or more from what you have. Look into doing a streamline refinance. Talk to your lenders and see. Some lenders were offering, I don't remember the exact name of it, but there's like a one time, will lower your interest rate if it gets to a certain point. So there's different ways to deal with those, getting that interest rate reduced. I will say that it's key to make sure that you are making your payments on time. I know that for the Streamline FHA refinance, they're basically just looking at, have you made your payment in the last 12 months on time? And that's pretty much all they looked at when I did mine. And then I think your credit score, but you didn't have to do all of the appraisals and all of those things that you may have to do when you're doing a regular refinance. So just make sure that you are paying that mortgage on time. And when you have a mortgage, you do have a 15-day grace period. So take advantage of it if you need it. But there are some options when you're thinking about purchasing, but you're waiting for the interest rates to go down. Um, Excuse me, I am so sorry. I do not know what this phlegm is in my throat. So, and just know that if you are renting, you are paying somebody's mortgage, or you're paying into someone's, if they've already paid the mortgage off, you're paying into their investments and their dreams rather than your own. So don't get caught out there, and because we all have to have a place to live, and there are definitely advantages if you are ready then to buy a home. So just maybe some signs that you're not ready, and you can be honest with yourself. Um, with this, are you avoiding looking at your finances? I know when my dad told me a while, when I first was buying my house, he was like, "You need to buy a house," and I was like, "I can't buy a house. My credit is da 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 da," and I didn't even want to look at it. But because I had someone in my ear saying, "You need to buy a house," I did. I went and looked at it. And you have to look at your credit. You have to look at your finances. Do you have a budget? Are you living paycheck to paycheck? Are you unsure about your job stability? We know nothing is promised forever, but if there's rumors of layoffs, that's something you might want to consider. And do you have money saved? So if your answer to all of those questions, or some of those questions, is no, or yes, that you are avoiding looking at your finances, then maybe you aren't ready. But that doesn't mean that you can't get ready. And it doesn't mean that it's never. It just means that you got to start today. You got to make your move and look at your finances, go through, write down, look at all of your expenses, all of the money, maybe not even expenses. I'm going to say, look at the money that you spend. Maybe look at the last couple of months, go through and see. I was looking at my expenses and my finances and what I spent money on, and Amazon is the devil. And that's, I was like, dang, I am spending so much money on Amazon, and I've got to cut it out. I got to reduce it. But look at what you're spending your money on. Some years ago, I was spending a whole bunch of money on gas because I was showing houses in a minivan. So where are you spending your money? And that's not to say that you can't enjoy life. You can't have some guilty pleasures, or what does Ramit call it? Oh my gosh, I can't think of what he calls it, but you being able to have some funds that you are okay with spending on your pleasures, whatever you want to do, whatever you enjoy in your life. But you got to take a look at it, and you got to understand. I was watching the First Time Buyers Club, and when people one of the things I really like about that show is that it does not just give you the three houses and you pick one and everything is peachy keen. She really, has had some scenarios where people had to go back and look at their budget and look at what they were spending and realize that, yeah, maybe I need to pause and save some money and get things stabilized, get some additional income. So um, you want to just make sure that you look at these things, and if it's really your desire to own a home, then start, and don't wait 5 years, because I've had people to wait years and years, and then when they do it, they're like, dang, I should have done this a long time ago. It was way easier than what I thought it was going to be. But in my mind, maybe you've never seen anybody that owns a home. So if you've never seen that, then you might think it's impossible, but it can be done. You just have to ask the questions and start the process and get the ball rolling. and make your move. So, what does ready really actually look like? Ready means that you do know your numbers. You've looked at your finances. You've looked at your budget. You've looked at your savings. You've talked to a lender and gotten an idea. They may say, I am ready right now. You're ready right now, or they may say, yeah, you need to pay such and such off. Talk to the lender. That is not my lane. I'm not going to give you advice on that. I'm going to listen to your situation and put you in touch with a lender that I think will meet your needs the best. But they can pull your credit because I don't want to tell you to go pay off some collection and then it brings your score down more because that's not my lane. So talk to a lender. Have your savings plan. I have some clients that they've bought a house and they're looking to buy another one. And one of the things they had to do or have to do or are doing right now is what they call a shock payment because they're looking to increase their mortgage, their home price by a certain amount. And so the lender was like, you need to show me that you can pay this difference. So they're putting that difference in savings for a few months before they're able to move forward with that. And then have your timeline. Think ahead when if you're in a lease, because the last thing you want to do is wait 30 days out, your lease is up, or you get that notice even 60 days out or whatever that your rent is going to double or your rent is going to go up by hundreds of dollars. And then you're like, oh man, I got to buy a house. It can work, but realistically, we need some time. So you want to have a timeline and prepare. So um, it doesn't mean that you have to have perfect credit. Like I said, you don't need an 800 credit score. It's nice, but you don't have to have perfect credit. You don't have to have a massive down payment. 20% is not required, and you don't have to know every step. That's what I'm here for. That's what your lender is here for, your attorney. We are here to work with you, to guide you through, to answer any questions that you have. So just being open to ask questions, knowing that there are no stupid questions. So those are the things to let you know if you're ready or if you're not ready. Um, so you're probably closer than you think to being able to buy your home, your first home, or buy a larger home, upgrade, upgrade, upsize, downsize. You're probably closer than what you think, and even if you aren't, you got to stop scrolling and dreaming and just putting these random houses in there. And get with me, get with your lender to find out what the process is, what you need to know, what you need to do, and if it's going to be this year, if it's going to be when this lease ends, or do you need to do another 6-month lease or 12-month lease or whatever, or is going month to month going to work for you? So that is all I have to share with you today. I encourage you to reach out to me. You can DM me, you can text, you can call me, 919-730-0803. And we can just get together, have a conversation, a no pressure readiness check. And I will, be honest with you as far as what I see, and then the things that I can see that, can help get you ready if you aren't quite ready. So that's what I would like to share with you all today. And I appreciate you taking the time to listen. And I encourage you to make your move because every step counts. So don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to find out where you are, because fear can paralyze you regardless to what you're trying to do. So that's all I have for today. I do want to share that the Triangle Wealthy Group is doing our Black History event this month. It will be the crowning event, the end of the month event on Saturday, February 28th. We will be at New American Funding at 12 o'clock. And you can register for that at twgpresents.com. So join us for that. It was an excellent event last year, and so we're looking forward to that again. And then just check twgpresents.com because we do have a calendar of events for the rest of the year. I know next month we're going to be talking about couples and financing. That's going to be live via Zoom. The February 28th will be an in-person event. And then for my fellow realtors, invite you all to join us for our mastermind. This Thursday, we'll be featuring Andrea Williams telling us how to structure our business from a tax perspective, from a systems perspective, just things that we can do as entrepreneurs, as realtors, and how we can make sure that we are not one of those realtors that of the 70%, 70 plus percent from last year who did not close a transaction. So I was talking to someone this morning, and I was just sharing that we as realtors, I think we make our jobs look too easy because it can be a perception that we just go open a door and then we collect this big fat paycheck, and that is not the case at all. We are working diligently behind the scenes for our clients, and so for my fellow realtors, we want to make sure that we are making sure we get you educated and help you be successful in this industry, because it is such a rewarding industry. And it can be very lucrative if you work your business and treat it like a business. So those masterminds are every other Thursday, and then we have our quarterly think tanks. But you can register for that at twgmastermind.com and join us this Thursday live via Zoom. And the think tanks will be up at TWG Presents very soon. So, and I do still have a listing at in the 27713 zip code. It's a 6-bedroom, 4 full bathroom home on a cul-de-sac lot, about a third of an acre, with new hardwood floors, a screened-in deck, and just a great location, great neighborhood. Listed at 675. And if you're interested, reach out to me. I'd be happy to take the time to get you scheduled to see it. All right, that's it. Everybody, have a great rest of your week. Be sure to make your move, because every step counts, and we will see you next week. Bye.